All right, welcome back to my training vlog. I am currently doing more of a bodybuilding block. I say bodybuilding block, obviously like all of my powerlifting blocks are still very hypertrophy based, but this one has literally no squat, bench, deadlift in it. I am focused on some other goals as a priority at the moment. Going down the fertility route and all that. I can talk about that more if people want, but that's the kind of primary goal at the moment. So my training is very much a bit shorter, a little bit easier to recover from. You'll see that the volume in this session is not a lot in terms of what people would view as a lot of volume. It's definitely less volume than I've ever done. However, being mostly on machines, the intensity, the proximity to failure of each of them is way higher. It's actually been a really long time since I've done dedicated pull days before this block. I used to love it. It used to be my favorite day back in the bodybuilding days many years ago. But since doing powerlifting, pull days don't really, unless you're specifically programming in a way where you like doing it, there's just no real need for it, because if you think of the prime movers in the big three in squat, bench, deadlift, you've got quads and hips in a squat, you've got hips in a deadlift, and in a bench press you've got pecs and shoulders, triceps. Your back comes into each of those movements, but it's definitely not a prime mover, and especially not in that like actual pulling motion. So typically you'll see powerlifting programs, you'll obviously have squat, bench, deadlift at the start, and then you'll have things that directly carry over to them to some degree, or at least carry over to them in terms of prime movers, and then the back stuff will kind of be thrown in at the end for some sort of quote unquote balance. But they're never really a priority. So yeah, I haven't been able to go hard on back like I would have back in my bodybuilding days. It was kind of nice to have this sort of session back in it. So like I said, I'm only doing fairly low volume, what most people would classify as fairly low volume. It'll start off with some single arm lat rows for a couple of sets, some T-bar rows over there for a couple of sets, some wide grip lat pull downs for a couple of sets, some sort of a rear delt movement, and then 4 sets of biceps to finish up. So not a huge amount of volume, but all of those sets, I guarantee you, I will be going to absolute failure and just trying to nudge out last week's weight. First up, we're going to jump on the prime seated row. I'm going to set this up in a way where I can do it single arm and have it be a little bit more latty. Let's get into it. I'm going to set my seat a little higher, set this a little closer because I'm going to use this more as an arm brace. Just going to have it here, got my straps on so grip's not limiting in any way. Sitting a little bit on an angle so I'm pulling slightly across my body. Obviously I've got no weight on this at the moment, so I'm just kind of getting the machine set right and make sure I'm in the right sort of position. So I'm really making sure not to turn my sternum and rotate with it, because then I'm not training my back, or I'm pulling, I'm just rotating. So I'm just slightly angled, find that big stretch at the bottom in the lat, and then sort of pulling my elbow into my ribs, and that's all the range of motion I'm going for on this for that particular muscle. But yeah, it feels good. Let's chuck some weight on. You can double check last week's weight. So when you're doing style of session like this where hypertrophy is really the only outcome you're concerned with, and there's less of a skill of the motion, and it's not a strength goal like squat, bench, deadlift, those two are very different, and your progressions on those are very different. You train those very different. But in this, we're doing what I always say not to do on squat, bench, deadlift, and that's kind of like forced progression. I've got a rep range, and I'm just working in that rep range, and I'm trying to each week nudge it in terms of either a little bit of set volume, reps, extra weight, whatever it is. I'm just trying to slightly get ahead. Sometimes that doesn't happen and it's fine, but as long as you're trying to is the key. getting as close to it as you can. Some things progress faster and slower than others. The squat bench deadlift, you're just looking for quality over quantity, and you don't really care as long as it's heavy enough. It's going to make you stronger, and your goal is to just get more like technically efficient and a lot of practice in. You can't do that when you're training to failure, and you can't change technical aspects when you're training at failure. So it's just a different mindset training this stuff. Good powerlifters learn how to have a skilled mindset when it comes to squat bench deadlift and have this sort of like bodybuilder-esque sort of mindset when it comes to their accessories, but different story. So, all right, so I'm looking at last week's weights. I was almost at the top of the rep range last week. I got set of 12 and then set 11 with this weight. So I am going to go up a little bit of weight and see if I can't, either match those or maybe get a rep or two less. And if it is a rep or two up, I'm at the bottom of the rep range, then next week I'll work my way towards the top of the rep range. That's the fucking game. That's all it is. So it's not it is hard. It's simple.
So, I got a large and a medium, or a medium and small.
Oh, and I'll go again. It's just 2 sets of this, so it's really 2 sets. Doesn't seem like much, and it's not for somebody who's relatively new to the gym. Like if you Google typical bodybuilding program, and probably a lot more volume than this. But they don't tell you is as you get bigger, as you get stronger, as you get more efficient in movements, you can generate more force, generate more fatigue, and then each set costs a little bit more. So you can't do quite as much. That doesn't mean that it's going to be less effective. It just kind of is what it is. If you understand that sort of volume, you just need enough, and then understand what enough constitutes. Then over time it'll pay off, because a lot of people just try and force in a fuck ton more work when it's just kind of shit quality and I just don't need it. All right, so we've got the chest supported T-bar row up now. We're lucky enough to have one that adjusts width and rotates and does all the nice things. So it feels pretty good. You can kind of adjust it to where your line pull is, I guess. I like it a little bit closer, not as wide as I can, but it's still definitely going to be sort of up and back more than the row that I was just doing. I've spent a couple of weeks on this now, so I'm slowly getting there with the weights. It's still a lot less than I think I can do, but I just want, I'm still just kind of getting used to this movement a little bit more in the prime row. But yeah, aiming for one lower rep set, so 6 to 10-ish sort of area, and then I'll do a back off higher rep set, both to failure, and both still trying to beat last week. But it's a hard machine to do, especially after that prime row. So I'm going to stand up in it. I like to have my feet, I guess I'm lucky, but I prefer to have them on the ground here, planted than on the platform. Also, it's a little bit more stable. It's just a better movement for me. Yeah, just I thought, still definitely have room in that. But I'm going to take that win. It's better than last week, and just keep bank that win, carry it forward, and live to fight another day here. Which means I've got to go really hard in the second set. On the third exercise, we're going to do a wide grip lat pull down. So this one, as you would have heard me say in the rows, they were very lat pull down, as in like getting a nice tight arm path and really working in this sort of range. Whereas in this one, I'm actually working more elbows out. And I mean, the exercise is called lat pull down, and it will get some lats or whatever, but like it's not really a lat pull down. It's more upper back in a way. But when you see this, I'm going to be sitting down on here and I'll set it up on top. It's not like a lat pull down machine, it's a Prodigy rack, but it's honestly really good that it adapts and it gets really heavy. It's a really, really good machine. But you'll see that I stay a little bit more upright in it. I've got the wider grip and I'm going to be keeping it relatively close to my face, not a huge amount of lean back. I'm focusing on my arms coming down in this sort of arc. So it's a little bit different to those rows that I was trying to target different muscles with. All right, so for this, according to my notes, last week I did 83 for 2 sets of 10. The rep range is 8 to 12, so I'm going to keep the same weight and try and do try to get 12 out on them. I could go up weight and then still easily be within that range, but I'd rather just at this point of the workout just stick to that same weight and try and get a couple of reps out. That's progression. I'll take that win. All right, like I said, some rear delt flies into a single leg across the body variation. Position if you set it up right. It feels a lot nicer than some other movies where it's just like only from here to here sort of thing. This coming across your body has really helped me a lot with feeling my rear delts, getting dongs in my rear delts, all those things which are maybe not needed for hypertrophy, but are a good sign that you're doing something fucking right. I'm going to be a little bit naughty. I'm going to put some Y raises in here, a little bit more of a horizontal Y raise. So it's going to be like here to here sort of thing. This one's going to be sort of the same, but on more of an upward access back here. I just like the movement. It's an easy superset to do together. I don't, in my powerlifting training, do a lot of direct shoulder work, so it's just a bit of fun. I love both these movements, so why not? And from here, I'm trying to use the back of my shoulder, like kind of pull it around my body. I don't need to go to fully like next to my body because the tension falls off towards the end when the cable straightens out. And get a lot of those. Very similar, that feels tension, slightly different spot, so happy to throw this in. All right, that's gone. I'm going to finish up now. Single arm preacher curls, dumbbell preacher curls, and just straight bar cable curls. 4 sets, failure for all of them. Biceps are neglected even more than pulling, so like it's been kind of interesting to get that back. But I'm gonna leave this here. Won't bother showing you all fucking sets of bicep curls. We don't need that shit. In the future I'm going to be doing these more, both of me training, but with some education kind of content in there as well. We'll be talking about big principles, the things that I believe in, things that ideas that I used to drive me, which some of it will just come naturally as I'm doing training and I explain shit like this, but have a little bit of pre-plan to them and really go into some rabbit holes as we go. If anybody has any suggestions for that, hit me up. But until then, this is it. I'll see you next time.